By 2015, the MacBook Air had established itself as a budget and compact laptop to the point where it replaced the white MacBook in 2011. However, the MacBook Air's design began looking dated by 2015 as it hadn't been redesigned since 2010, but the MacBook Air was still selling like hotcakes. However, Apple had a different idea for a compact laptop in 2015 that was so different that Apple wanted to kill off the MacBook Air. However, as you'll later learn, that plan backfired. What was their different idea for a compact laptop, though? The result is a 12-inch MacBook. 12-inch MacBook was announced on March 9, 2015 and released on April 10, 2015 for a price point of $1,299 in the US, $300 more than the base model MacBook Air. Its primary new feature was its design, which has a lot to unpack. Firstly, this MacBook was the smallest MacBook when it released, as it's both thinner bezels than the 11-inch MacBook Air, and is super thin, as I will demonstrate here. This is how thin it is. Secondly, this MacBook was the first Apple product and one of the first consumer tech products to include a USB-C port. Thirdly, this MacBook was the first MacBook besides the MacBook Pro to boast a Retina display, meaning that individual pixels cannot be distinguished, unlike on MacBook Airs of the era. Fourthly, this MacBook was Apple's first laptop to lack a fan because it has an Intel Core M processor that is efficient, which I will return to later. Fifthly, this MacBook was the first MacBook to offer Apple's compact keyboard known as the butterfly keyboard. In short, the butterfly keyboard uses a butterfly switch mechanism to allow for a more compact keyboard rather than the scissor switch mechanism that previous and current Macs use, which I will also return to later. This Mac's keyboard was also Apple's first where the letters use the San Francisco font synonymous with modern Apple, rather than the WAG rounded font that older Macs use. Sixthly, this is the first aluminum Mac to be offered multiple color options, which on the 2015 MacBook are space gray, silver, and gold, as I have here. Seventhly, this was the first MacBook to use Apple's Force Touch trackpad that does not physically click, but instead uses Apple's Tactic engine to simulate a click. However, the 12-inch MacBook was very controversial for numerous reasons. Firstly, these only have one USB-C port and a headphone jack. Well, the only issue with this I/O now is that one port is too limiting. Back in April 2015, USB-C was a standard that was released 8 months prior in August 2014. Therefore, there were very few USB-C accessories and peripherals back then. Consequently, many buyers of this MacBook had to go to Dongle Town, as Stephen Hackett from 512 Pixels describes it, when they had to purchase adapters to use their peripherals and accessories. Secondly, this MacBook was infamously slow even when it was new. I haven't found this MacBook to be too slow in my limited usage of this, but I also don't care that much as I did not pay $1,300 for it. Thirdly, the butterfly keyboard was a hot mess for two reasons. Firstly, its compact design gives it less key travel, so it doesn't feel as good to type on as a normal laptop keyboard. Although the butterfly keyboard is better than the iPad Smart Keyboard and Microsoft Surface Tablet keyboard, it is still comparable to those mediocre keyboards. Mind you, I'm talking about an actual laptop's keyboard. Secondly, the butterfly keyboard frequently failed, which was usually caused by particles getting stuck underneath the keys. The butterfly keyboard's frequent failure eventually led Apple to revert back to their older scissor switch keyboards in 2019 and 2020. Fourthly, this MacBook had a plethora of issues, and it had a price point of $300 more than a brand new MacBook Air at its time. Therefore, the 12-inch MacBook sold poorly, as most consumers just bought the MacBook Air instead. On April 19, 2016, Apple refreshed the 12-inch MacBook and added a rose gold color option, as you can see here. On June 5, 2017, Apple refreshed the 12-inch MacBook again, as you can see here. On October 20th, 2018, Apple quietly discontinued the rose gold and gold color options and added a new gold variant to match their color scheme in 2018, back when Apple kept their colors on their products consistent. On July 9th, 2019, Apple quietly discontinued the 12-inch MacBook. Despite the 12-inch MacBook's poor sales and controversies, it left some positive legacies. It was the first to include a USB-C port and a Force Touch trackpad, which are both features that all MacBooks still boast today. Furthermore, some tech enthusiasts think the 12-inch MacBook would be better with an Apple Silicon processor because Apple Silicon chips are far more efficient. However, I still don't think the 12-inch MacBook should return because there are really only two laptop sectors that Apple can effectively target. One is average Joes and those who desire compact laptops, which is who the MacBook Air is for, and the other is for professional grade users, which is who the MacBook Pro is for. Did you ever own a 12-inch MacBook, or do you still have one? Please comment your experiences with it down below if you did or do. As always, thank you all for watching this video. I'm the iTunes family, and peace out!